Hello there. This is gonna be a very quick video about an issue I was having with a certain HP inkjet printer. I did a lot of research online and I couldn't find another one who had this issue or who had found a solution. This is why I'm making this video. It will have very low production quality of about 0, but I hope some of you will find it and find this helpful to fix your issue. The issue I was having with the HP printer, in my case it was an Officejet Pro 8610, was that it was giving the error ink cartridge damaged. So even if you replaced the ink cartridge with a brand new, full, genuine HP ink cartridge, it would still give you the error that there was an issue with the print cartridge or it was damaged. Alternatively, the printer would also give a genuine error about ink system failure, so it wouldn't even specify which cartridge was the problem. It would just say that there was a problem with the ink system and it would refuse to boot. One thing I found out is that you could boot up the printer in manufacturing mode and have it printing that way, because in that case it ignores the errors, but this is no solution, so I dug a little bit deeper. What's happening is normally the printer relies on gravity to feed the ink down to the printhead. So simply having the ink cartridge installed, the ink will trickle down to the printhead and the printer can continue printing without any additional force. But in some cases, when the ink inside the printhead dries up, or for some other reason the ink has completely is completely gone from the printhead, so there is air inside, the printer needs to reprime the printhead. So it needs to push some amount of ink back into the printhead. And it does that by using a small air pump. So there's a small air compressor inside the printer that gets activated in these cases and is supposed to push some pressurized air inside or into the ink cartridges, which then push out some of the ink into the printhead. That usually only takes 1 or 2 seconds, and then there is enough ink again in the printhead for the printer to continue working. And it is also has a way to measure whether there is ink flowing inside the printhead or not. And when this error occurs, that means that the printer was not able to do just that. So for some reason it was unable to push air into the ink cartridges, or at least the ink cartridges were not releasing any ink into the printhead. This is why it is complaining that maybe the ink cartridges themselves are damaged, or there is something else wrong. And what I noticed first is this is a picture of a genuine HP ink cartridge. So this printer uses 950 or 951 ink cartridges. In this case it's even an XL cartridge, so with a lot of ink inside. These things cost more than $50 a piece. So if you want to replace all your ink cartridges, you're looking at about 150 to 200 euros. And there is an issue with them, which is shown in this picture. So you see two openings here. The lower one, you can clearly see there is ink around it. So this is the port where the ink is supposed to flow out of the ink cartridge into the printhead. And the upper hole, which I highlighted here with this red circle, this is the port where the pressurized air should be pushed into the ink cartridges in case the printer needs to prime the printhead. But if you can see, if you look closely here, you can see that there is no hole. It is just a plastic opening. It ends in a plastic piece, and I tried poking it with different metal tools. It's just a solid piece of plastic. There is no way for the air to enter the ink cartridges. So in this case, if the printer tries to prime the head and tries to push air in there, it's just not going into the ink cartridges, so the ink is not going to flow out of the lower port, so the printhead stays dry. And after a couple of tries, you can often hear the compressor switching on and off inside the printer. After a couple of tries, it just gives up and says that there is an issue with the with the ink cartridge, which is correct. The issue is that this hole is blocked and it cannot push the ink out. This is very confusing to me because these are definitely genuine HP cartridges produced by HP for this specific printer, but for some reason this hole here is blocked off. And maybe you can see better what I mean when I show you an aftermarket cartridge. So this is a cheaper one that I bought off eBay for just 3 euros for this specific cartridge, and you can see the same thing. The lower opening is where the ink would come out during normal operation. There is still the protective film on it because this hasn't been used, but you can clearly see on the upper opening, if you look into there, you can see down there is actually a hole, and this hole directly leads into the ink compartment, so this is where the air can get pushed in. So part of the solution in this case was actually not to buy the genuine HP ink cartridges and buy a cheap aftermarket cartridge that has this opening, so the printer can actually push the air into there, prime the printhead and continue printing. So this is really weird to me. But then the issue continued further, because at first, even with these replacement or aftermarket cartridges, the process wasn't working. So it was trying to prime the printhead, but it would still not work. And what I did is I disassembled the printhead a little further, and I found this piece. And this piece is used for distributing the pressurized air to the 4 ink cartridges. Because there's only one pump, but there are 4 individual ink cartridges, one for the black ink and the 3 others for the color. The printer needs a way to distribute the air so that it can push the air into all 4 of them. And this is handled by this upper piece here. You can see it's a plastic piece and it has this transparent film glued on top of it. And the green arrow shows the path that the air would take. So there is a small seal here. This is where the pressurized air from the compressor would enter. And then it goes along this line back here. And that feeds into each of those 4 nozzles that you can see inside of these springs. And each of these nozzles would then connect to one of those holes and push the air in there. And what happened now, because all of the 4 ink cartridges were genuine HP, and all of these 4 ink cartridges had their air port blocked off, the air couldn't enter the cartridges. So the compressor would continue pumping air into this section, but the air couldn't go anywhere, so the pressure increased. And what happened is, when you look closely, you can see that this lower part of this plastic transparent foil is no longer glued on. You can see here along those lines with a dark black color that there the glue is still holding and the foil is still glued on, but here the glue just simply gave up, so the foil actually separated from this plastic piece. So now when you put pressurized air into this port, it simply oozes out here and all the pressure is gone, and there is no longer pressure going to the actual ink cartridges. So what I additionally had to do is glue this piece of plastic here back on. You can use super glue or whatever. And what I also did is I reinforced this part by placing something underneath. So this is a part of the printhead. When you have the printhead all disassembled, you will see what I mean. You can put just something, just some piece of plastic under there to put some pressure on this plastic foil to support the glue, so that it will keep closed and keep airtight when you reinstall it. And this is what in the end fixed it. So after gluing this part of plastic back on, reinforcing it inside the printhead, and then using ink cartridges that have this port open, check for yourself, but I'm pretty sure you can find cheap replacement ones on eBay that will have this port open. So after installing those and fixing up this part of the printhead, I could finally hear a difference when the printer switched on the compressor. So you could actually hear air moving through the system, and you could also hear ink moving through the system. So this is finally when the printer was able to prime its printhead again, and sure enough, after that the errors were gone and the printer would continue working totally fine. So this is definitely something you can try out. If you have tried all the other obvious steps, like if you have tried different ink cartridges, if you have tried resetting the printer multiple times, and it always comes up with the error either issue with print, with the ink cartridge, or ink cartridge damaged, or this general error problem with the ink system, have a look at that. Take a look at your ink cartridges, take them out, see if they have this hole going all the way into the compartment or not. And if you have ink cartridges that have that, additionally take your printhead out, disassemble it, and try to locate this part and see if this plastic foil is still properly glued on all around. Because if either of those things is not the case, so if either your printhead has this foil ripped off, or you have ink cartridges that have their whole part plugged, the printer is not able to prime its printhead and will always give you an error. So I don't know why this is done. I mean, obviously it could just be a manufacturing defect, like these ports should have been opened during manufacturing, but they are closed. I find that puzzling because these are genuine HP cartridges manufactured for a very high price, should have very high standards, and this issue was on all 4 of them. So I had 4 cartridges, 1 black and 3 for the other colors, and they all have this hole blocked. So it doesn't seem like a mistake, but it obviously prevents the printer from functioning correctly. It prints as long as everything is fine, but if at any point in time it has to reprime the printhead, it will fail and it will get stuck in this error. I find it very puzzling that genuine HP cartridges have this mistake or this manufacturing defect. It could obviously be a deliberate decision of HP to say at some point in time we stop producing cartridges that have this hole, so we no longer allow the printers to actually reprime the head, which basically means that at the time the printer ever wants to reprime the head, it just bricks itself. As things go in this point in time, I can totally believe that HP decided this, because I would assume that all printers using these print or ink cartridges are now a couple years old. So it might very well be that HP just decided to brick all these printers by now producing these cartridges without the opening. I don't know, I cannot say. I just have 1 printer and 1 set of cartridges. I'm surely not gonna buy more of those cartridges just to confirm. But as I said in the beginning, I spent quite a lot of time, multiple hours, trying to get to the bottom of this issue, and as it is in many cases, I couldn't find any helpful information on the internet before. So if you have this issue, if you have a printer that uses these 950 or 951 cartridges, that gives you an error with the cartridges or with the ink system, and you run out of ideas yourself, I hope this video gave you something else to look into. Hopefully you also might be able to fix your printer with this information. So hopefully either you can glue this part on or make sure to get ink cartridges that actually have the hole for the air to go in, and then you don't have to throw away your HP printer and buy a new one. That's it for this video. As I said, hopefully it was helpful to some people. If so, please leave a comment, maybe with your experiences or your issues you were also having, and see you in the next video.